Acronym fatigue. Does this give anyone else a headache? There are so many floating around out there. And while there is a synthesis of how they all fit together, we clearly have an educational acronym jumble on our hands. Let's see if we can make sense of some of this by organizing all the parts under the umbrella of MTSS, or multi-tiered system of supports. MTSS is a framework that helps us look at the whole child, including academic, behavioral, and social emotional supports. It is a system designed for all, meaning everyone is included and all students are supported. Moving right along, let's use our trusty pyramid to help us organize our thoughts to what this all means. In the MTSS pyramid, there are, of course, 3 tiers. But let's start by talking about the first tier, which are universal, instructional, and intervention supports for all students. They are purposefully designed to be proactive and preventative, and in each tier, remember that all parts are included, which in Tier 1 means proactive and preventative academic, behavioral, and social emotional supports. Let's begin by focusing on what this specifically means for Tier 1. There are 2 important questions that we can start with to wrap our thinking around a system of universal supports for all students. Number 1, what does this mean for how we plan first best instruction and plan for the anticipated needs of our students? Secondly, what data do we use to screen and monitor our students so we may make informed decisions? Remember, we need to consider both of these questions through the lens of 3 distinct parts: academics, behavior, and social emotional learning. And while we look at them separately, it is clear that the benefit of our actions in one area can have a positive impact on the other areas as well. And we mustn't forget that these are universal supports that we have available to all students. When we plan first best instruction with academics in mind, we can include things like grading for equity, PBL, UDL, ELD, student interest, and the list goes on. I'm sure you are thinking of more to add to the list. And as you can see, when we are wondering how all of the different acronyms fit together, here is an example of how they fit under the umbrella of MTSS, which brings us to even more acronyms. When looking at behavior, some sites participate in a PBIS program, while others have their own articulated procedures and protocols, including restorative practices. And lastly, social emotional learning. Our commitment as a district last year to provide the 3 signature practices to all students in all classes is an example of our efforts to provide Tier 1 universal supports to all students. That brings us to our second question about how we use common data to monitor our efforts in the green column up above. Canvas now houses both the elementary and secondary common assessment tables. A good place to start would be to look at the assessment tables and fill out these 3 cells or columns to ensure that we are on track to use data in order to monitor the progress of our students and catch any barriers at the earliest onset of student needs.